Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, April 7th, 2020. All right, today is day 2 of writing our fantasy fiction stories. So let's get our materials ready. So for this, you're going to need one blank piece of paper or one lined piece of paper. You're also going to need a sharpened pencil with an eraser. You're going to bring your story ideas from yesterday, and I'm going to show you what those look like on the screen. Go ahead and grab those things now. All right, friends, now before we get started on our writing, let's go over what fiction stories are so we make sure we're writing the right things. We know that fiction stories have problems and solutions. We know that they have a main character and supporting characters. They have a lesson that the character learns. And they can be realistic or fantasy. Remember, we're working just on fantasy this week. All right? Now, I want you to truly appreciate writing your fantasy fiction stories this week because you have the power to make it anything you want to be, especially because it doesn't have to be what can happen in the real world, which is super awesome. And that's what makes fiction writing so fun. Is it's made up and pretend. You get to be as creative as you want. And we get to draw pictures. All right, friends. We're going to go through this step by step. I'm going to show you in the video, and you're going to do it after you watch the video. After you watch the video, you're going to take a picture of this and send it to your class journal on Seesaw. Okay? So first me, then when the video ends, then you. You can even replay the video to help you out. Okay? So let's go through this. Where it says name, you're going to write your name. So I'm going to write Miss Andros. Then it says today's date. Today is Tuesday, April 7th. So I'm going to write that. So I can keep track of my writing. Looks like this. Okay? Now let's read the directions. Pick one, and notice that this is in dark letters. One. You're only picking one of your story ideas. Yesterday, you made 3, but you're only picking one because you're making one book this week. Pick one story idea to write about. Fill in all of the story elements. Remember, the story elements are what make up fiction. We talked about those earlier. Yesterday, Miss Andros did the problems and solutions based off of books you read. But today, just so you could see a clear problem and solution with characters that were fantasy because they were talking animals. Today, I'm going to write my very own fantasy fiction. Okay? So, as I do that, I'm thinking of my setting, which is what? Where and when the story takes place. I think of my main character, right? I usually know my main character either off of the title or they're in a lot of the illustrations. The story is mainly about them. I think of my supporting characters, who are the people that are involved with the main character. I think of my problem, which is what goes wrong in the story. My solution, which is how the problem is solved. The lesson the main character learns that they can use for their life. Then at the end, you're going to draw a picture of your character. Now, character traits are words that show the character's personality, their beliefs, what they believe in, or their values, like what they live their life by. Okay? Now, you can think of at least one or two, but you don't have to worry about going too detailed into that. Okay, so I'm gonna start my setting. Remember, I want to think of as many details that are going to make my story as interesting as possible. And this plan is going to drive my writing forward. So, setting. Here the story is. So my story takes place in a forest. Say, forest with lots of animals. It starts out in the middle of the day. I'm going to say gloomy skies. I'm describing what my scene, that means like what, where it's happening, what it looks like. Gloomy is like dark. Gloomy skies. Okay. So that's what I have for my setting so far. Remember, you can go back at any point to like add more details to your plan too today. So next I go to my main character and it says quick description. So you're going to give like a summary that gives your reader an idea of what your main character is like. So my main character is a talking rabbit. Okay, we know that can't happen in real life. That's why it's fantasy fiction. Okay, talking rabbit, and he always goes after what he wants. He always goes after his goals, and that can be a good thing, but sometimes it can lead us down roads we don't want to go on either. So we'll see with my talking rabbit. So main character, same. Pete, that's his name, the rabbit. Always goes after what he wants, no matter what it takes. Okay, I give one sentence that's a quick description. Now I have an idea as the reader of what Pete is going to be like, so that when things happen to him, because I know what he's like, I may have an idea of what he'll do. So when I think of character traits, when I think of people that go after what they want, no matter what, those people show what? It's one of our core values. Yeah, self-determination. So he may be determined. Another word for determined is eager. Okay? Because he's constantly going after what he wants, I may say enthusiastic, right? Like he's super excited about all his goals. Okay? So I gave 3. You can give 1 or 2. Okay, now you're thinking, when you think of supporting characters, you want to think about all the ways that the characters are going to talk to each other, what they're going to do with each other across the story. Remember, we want your story to be creative, but we also want it to make sense, because we all know we enjoy books that we can follow the story and understand what's happening at the beginning, the middle, and the end. So when I think of rabbits, Pete the Rabbit's friends, I think there's a turtle. Okay. I'm going to name him Tortuga. Tortuga, the turtle. Now you have to give a quick description of each of those characters. Now, Tortuga the turtle always takes his time, right? Because he's a turtle, takes his time to do things. And appreciates new adventures. What I mean by that is that Tortuga is always, if an opportunity comes for them to try something new, Tortuga, even though he takes his time, he's like, yeah, let's do it, let's try it, which is why he's good friends with Pete the Rabbit. Okay, so now I'm thinking, who else do I want in my story? Thinking of what's going to go wrong, how they're going to solve it, and what Pete the Rabbit is going to learn. So I have my turtle, okay. And then I'm going to have a little deer. Bambi. A loved forest deer. Because that's what she was. Everybody in the forest loved her. And a deer is what she was. Forest deer. Enjoyed taking care of her forest family. She was very protective. Now I'm thinking of my characters, and when I'm talking about Bambi and how much people love her, I'm thinking of her as like the mom of the group, right? She loves her forest family of animals, and she protects them any chance she gets. Okay. Now I look at now here comes my problem. So I'm going back to my main character because that's who the problem is going to happen to, is Pete the Rabbit. So Pete the Rabbit sleeps in the forest every single night. And the problem is that one day he wakes one morning and he finds that he is stronger, faster, and smarter than when he went to sleep. And every single day he wakes up and he becomes stronger, faster, and smarter. Okay? And he wonders why this is. And this is because one day on his walk, he found this special rock that he thought was beautiful, and he kept it. Now the problem with, you might be thinking, how is that a problem to be fast and strong and smart? But too much of anything, even a good thing, is not so good. And so he gets into lots of trouble because he starts leaving his friends behind. So, to summarize all that in the problem, I'm going to say, Pete the Rabbit on his walk one day found a special rock kept it, and then every day when he woke up, He was smarter, stronger, and faster. He left his friends behind. Excuse me. And didn't share. Now notice that I'm giving just enough details that when I write my story, I can go in many different directions still. I can still decide what I'm going to add. Okay, but I'm giving the idea of what my story is about. Okay, now for solution. How is the problem solved? Okay. So, the solution, how they fixed it. Okay, so when I think of the solution, Bambi, his friend, right? Bambi and Tortuga came up with an idea of an obstacle course Pete could do to use his powers to help the forest. Right? Because he's so fast and strong and smart, you can use all those powers for a good thing. Which leads us to our last box. Our last box is the lesson the main character learns. Now, if you don't share your powers, and then your friends help you think of a way where you can share them to help the world, what does that teach you? Okay, that it's always good to share, and we can use our power for good. Always good to share your power. To bring good to our world. Now that's the message I wanted him to learn. So now I have my story flow, okay? I know when I start introducing my characters where I'm going to go with it because I wrote it all here. You don't want to lose this. Now, draw a picture of your character. So when you draw a picture of your character, you're just drawing your character, and I want it to be detailed. It doesn't say characters, it says character. So you're going to draw just the main character. So I'm going to draw Pete the Rabbit here and his ears. I'm going to have my little Pete have glasses. This kind of reminds me of like Arthur. Okay. I'm going to draw a bubble to show what he's thinking. And I'm going to draw some rips in his shirt because he's so strong. Okay. Here is my character. I drew his arms like this because he's strong. I'm showing what he's thinking because he thinks he's the strongest since he got this power, right? You're going to do the same with your character. Okay. Now remember, your story can be about anything that you want because it is yours. And that's what's going to make it awesome. This sheet is the only one you're doing today. Okay? Tomorrow, we'll get to start with our pictures in the book. So until next time, remember, take a picture of only this and put it on your class's journal page on Seesaw.